Star Wars is a pretty entertaining medium for me. I don't hold it in high regard as most people, but regardless of the good or bad and just plain average, I still manage to have a good time. But the main thing that will always pop in my head when someone says Star Wars is the Clone Wars 2003 show. This show was freaking sweet. It's the main reason why I don't dislike the prequels like most people, especially the third one. This show introduced me to the lore and the setting of Star Wars, and it got me hooked immediately. Even when I look back on it now, I still enjoy every second of it as an adult. This show was like the prequels, more successful and more handsome younger brother. Seriously, it was the complete opposite. No Senate debates, no corny dialogue, and no Jar Jar. Nothing but war, fighting, and war. So today I'm going to be talking about why Star Wars Clone Wars 2003 is so freaking awesome. Immediately, we don't waste any time. We jump straight into all-out war, seeing both sides fighting for domination of the galaxy. We get to see the outcomes of whoever takes over a planet, whether it's the Separatists' merciless conquest, or the clones' more professional approach. Each side displays their own way of conquest and how they fight. On top of that, we get a sense of scale. Different places and locations, underwater, cities, fields, rainy environments, and how each location has a different variety of weapons that accompany the different terrains for each side. Something that the prequels never touched on. Sure, we got some locations in Revenge of the Sith, but that happens more at the end, when it should have been at the beginning. One of the reasons why I love this show so much is that it relies heavily on its visuals. There are some episodes where not a single word is uttered and you know exactly what's going on. There's an episode with the clones where their ship gets shot down, and whenever they're on screen, they communicate with hand signals, and it's great. This alone gave the clones more personality and a sense of brotherhood. Don't get me wrong, the 3D Clone Wars did a great job of humanizing them and giving them all their own personalities, but this show nailed their presentation, showing us why they're such an effective fighting force than the droids. I usually don't talk about sound design in anything, but oh my god, the sound design in this is amazing. Jedi in this show make the Jedi in the prequels look like toddlers. We see all types of crazy force powers in this that's so mind-blowing. I have a completely different outlook on Mace Windu in this than in the prequels. You know, actually living up to the whole role of a monk. I also really do appreciate the lack of lightsabers in this. A lot of the times they just lose their lightsabers and we get to see how they defend themselves and act without it, displaying how their use of the Force is so different from the Sith. They even use different weapons. Obi-Wan uses a freaking lance, Yoda rides a deer thing, Mace fights with his hands. It's just a nice touch and a good break from seeing a lightsaber every single moment of every single scene. Man, Dirge is so freaking cool. He's really in it for like only 2 episodes, but he manages to have more of a presence than Snowflake over here. Every scene he's in just adds a terrifying presence. His design is really cool, and his down-to-business attitude just makes his character more professional since he's a bounty hunter and everything. On top of that, there's this scene. Perfect. Just everything about that scene. He also has all these cool weapons, a combination of old and new tech, some weapons new and old. Then later you find out he's not even human. He's like some kind of weird worm thing. Apparently he finally died by being thrown into a star, which we got that animated. Now Dooku was definitely one of the major problems in the prequels. He was just some old guy introduced and no one really cared. It's like Lucas was trying to make Dooku scary. or something, when that should have never been the case. However, in the cartoon they make him more of an intimidating presence. He's old and has enough experience to be a challenge, yet at the same time is really arrogant. Granted, he doesn't really do a whole lot in the show, so I can't really say if it's an improvement, but overall he has a better first impression than the movie version had. Then there's Asajj Ventress, who again is a villain who makes very few appearances. She sticks around for like 3 episodes and that's it. But again, they show her enough for us to believe she's a threat. The whole fight between her and Anakin is one of the best animated fights out there. It especially helps with Anakin's development as he slowly heads towards the dark side. Now, to talk about one of the best intros to a villain I've ever seen in a long while, General Grievous. When I say that name, you're probably thinking, oh, it's that stupid dumb guy that always runs away. Or, oh, it's that guy from the prequels no one mentioned or talked about, who has those stupid fan arms. No. The Grievous I'm talking about is this Grievous. This is the Grievous I freaking grew up with. Not only do we get a legit great introduction to him as a general, but we get to see why he has that title and why he's such a threat. We see the moves that Grievous never even attempts in the prequels. He freaking uses his bat feet, spins his arms around, clinks the walls, moves so unpredictably and fast it's impossible for the other Jedi to keep up, and he beats several of them in like a fraction of a second, with only a master left. He was portrayed as more of a monster hunting its prey, and someone who instills fear, something that should have been in the prequels and not used on some old guy. The reveal that he has 4 arms was done pretty great as well. Showing more of how Grievous is just a monstrous foe built for killing. I guess you can make the assumption that he was so weak in the 3rd movie was because Mace crushed his chest, damaging his organs. Still doesn't change the fact that I would have much preferred this Grievous of what we was bad. This cartoon is the main reason how I knew who Grievous was beforehand, and why I liked him so much. His whole intro was executed so well it was impossible for me to really disapprove of him in Revenge of the Sith, regardless of me not liking his weakened state. Heck, it even showed Palpatine getting kidnapped, which led up to Revenge of the Sith, so I was never asking myself what the heck was going on. It was because I already knew what had transpired and how Palpatine got kidnapped. Overall, this cartoon still holds up even today. It presented some of the best 2D animation for its time and still does even now. I mean, it looks like it was made in the current year. Even if you don't like Star Wars and or hate the prequels, watch the show, just to appreciate the amount of effort and good writing and art direction it took to make this cartoon. How so much heart was put into it for the fans, and how visual storytelling can go a long way when doing any narrative, something that the newest trilogy and previous have forgotten.